A big thanks to SmallRig for sending us the gear for this video. Today we're going to be taking a look at something pretty cool. These are the SmallRig gimbal control wheels for DJI RS series gimbals. Now, we admit that this is a pretty niche product, and we've seen wheels like this from other manufacturers on much bigger film sets that we have worked on. So when we saw SmallRig bring out their version that is much smaller and cheaper, we were extremely excited to check them out. So let's have a look. These wheels support the DJI RS2, RS3, RS3 Pro, RS4, and RS4 Pro. They don't work with some of the other gimbals, like larger gimbals. They only support DJI gimbals, and they do not currently work with the Ronin 4D, although we might see firmware updates down the line. Although keep in mind that you need to connect these wheels to your gimbal via a little control unit, which isn't uncommon, so compatibility might depend on what control unit comes in the box. Now, if you're not familiar, gimbal control wheels are simply just that. They're a wireless device that lets you control the pan and tilt or roll of your gimbal wirelessly. They're fairly common on bigger sets, and especially for driving stuff where you've got a gimbal mounted to a car and you still want to be able to control your pan and tilt. They allow much more precise movement than using something like an app, and more importantly, wheels are a more traditional way of interacting with a camera on larger film sets. Traditionally, these setups are extremely expensive. So for example, if you were to run the Ronin 2 with the Ronin 2 wheels, you're going to be looking at close to 20,000 Australian dollars for that setup. Whereas between these two over here, we're looking at around 2,000 Aussie dollars. So it's roughly a tenth of the price. Now, we're not expecting to get the same sort of performance that you would out of the full Ronin 2 kit, but you can see that the value proposition here is very exciting. So with that said, if you were to pick up a kit for yourself, what you get are the gimbal control wheels and a little control box that you connect to the Ronin gimbals. And, making things even better, it all comes in a really nice hard case. It's also worth noting that we've included a gimbal power distribution plate with this kit and a D-tap cable, and just lets you mount the gimbal on a slider or a tripod and power everything over D-tap from a larger V-mount battery, which is pretty cool for larger productions. The unit is quite substantial. It's built really nicely. You have two big wheels that you can set to control pan, tilt, or roll, and you can control what you're doing at any time through the menus. The friction on each wheel can be adjusted by this large knob behind them, and right in the end they can be quite loose, and they do get fairly firm. Then over here you have switches that control the direction of your wheels. So if you want to go this way to go left, for example, you flick it the one way, and then if you want to go the other way, then all of a sudden this way will go left. It's fairly simple to understand. It's really easy to switch because you have one per wheel. Now by default, you can also control the roll of the gimbal using this knob over here. But if you don't want to do it that way, the software does let you choose whether or not you're doing pan and tilt on any of these things. You can swap it all around to fit your needs. Over here we have a power button you hold to turn it on, and if you tap it when it is on, you swap between your tilt, roll, and pan. Up top we have these four large knobs. These two black ones control the smoothness of your movement, and then over here you've got your two silver speed knobs that controls how quickly this moving translates to gimbal moving. We have a mode button so that you can cycle through your modes, and we have a sleep/recenter button. Around the back we do have two antennas for the wireless connection. We have a plate that you can mount tripod plates to or any other mounting accessory. There are quite a few threaded mounts on the back. As well as your mounting points on the bottom, you also have a cheese plate on top for mounting monitors or other accessories. There is an NPF battery slot if you want to use your Sony L series NPF batteries, and the device can also be powered over USB-C, which is how we've been running it. Now, because this is a third-party device manufactured by SmallRig, and because it is so affordable compared to the alternatives, we were kind of wondering what the build quality was going to be like. But overall, we've actually been really impressed. This thing feels like it can take an absolute beating. In terms of material, things are a mix between plastic, stainless steel, and aluminium, and importantly, the wheels are weighted to give you a nice sense of weight when you're turning them. So that just about does it for the physical overview. When it comes to setting up this device to work with a gimbal, all you need to do is connect the little control box, and everything else just kind of happens automatically. And I say automatically because it just worked, and I was quite surprised by that. We just connected everything, turned it on, and it functioned. We didn't have to do any messing around, which is awesome. Okay, so when it comes to actually using these things, look, we're going to be the first to admit that we don't have a lot of hands-on experience with wheel-based camera control systems. It is quite a skill that you need to develop over time, and we probably need a lot more hands-on with this to be able to become fluent with it. So we've obviously used it ourselves to give you our opinions, but we've also given this device to a much more seasoned cinematographer who uses this kind of thing on a daily basis, and we asked him for his opinions. For reference, he is well known to use this kind of thing on sliders and tripods and cranes, jibs, cars, all that sort of stuff for almost every shot in the TV shows and feature films that he shoots. Now overall, he thought that this device performed just about as he expected, but he did have a couple of notes. For starters, he does feel like the menus could be updated to be a little bit more robust in terms of the settings that you can adjust in them. He'd also love to see the device's compatibility extended to include more gimbals, even ones from other manufacturers. But we do acknowledge that there's probably quite a lot of software work involved to get that working, as well as designing more wireless dongles that are compatible with other systems. So we're not sure how likely it is that we will see that. But his main criticism was that there is a little bit of delay with this system versus the more expensive systems that he is used to. And this basically means that you're going to have to anticipate the movement a little bit more than with the other systems. This is not really something that I can really comment on because, like I say, we are still very much getting our heads around the wheel system ourselves. So we're just going to have to take his word for it. But honestly, even with our limited experience, we didn't find this to be too much of an issue with the test footage that we were capturing. Honestly, at this point, we're making more mistakes because we don't have our heads around the wheel system than because the thing has too much delay. Now, I do actually want to mention that he had all of that to say before we told him how much this unit costs. Once we told him, he was actually really impressed with the performance, but he did think that SmallRig could probably make a version with less delay and some more features that cost almost twice as much, and it would still be an exceptionally disruptive product in the market. In terms of what we noticed, honestly, like I say, it all comes down to how fluent we are with wheel systems. We're not very, so things were very confusing for us, but we did manage to get quite a few cool shots, and I'm very excited to keep practicing to get better because I do think that this is an awesome skill set to have. With that said, one thing that we did actually notice is that if you move these wheels too quickly, sometimes the device doesn't send that movement across to the gimbal. So look, I think that kind of wraps up what we wanted to say on a technical level, but something that we did want to discuss a little bit in this video is the cool factor of having something like this on set. Now, obviously, there is a small downside in that you're probably going to need a few crew members to pull off a setup like this. It's not something that you're just going to be able to do with like 2 people or something like that. More hands on deck definitely is required. But with that said, it's a setup that is technically quite impressive. And I know we don't like to talk about that kind of thing because it's the work that should really be the thing that shows our value. But the reality is, everyone that we've shown this setup has kind of got like, whoa, that's cool. Can we do something with it? Like it or not, cool factor does get you work. And this definitely sits in the cool factor area for me as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that's about it. I know this video was a little bit more conversational in places, but the reality is we do think that this is a really awesome piece of kit, and we're very excited to see something like this available on the market. And we are excited to see how they may update this in the future, maybe revise it, and if they're going to start supporting more gimbals or even the Ronin 4D, which is something that we have seen a lot of people asking, and at current it does not support it. But anyways, if you do like what you see here, consider giving us a like and a subscribe. We'll leave a link down below to where you can pick one up yourself if you are in a region where they are shipping, and we'll see you next time.